I never imagined a cleaning lady could save my special daughter from heartbreak. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. The sun beat down cruelly, washing over the backyard like a spotlight on tragedy. Lily, sweet, brilliant girl, sat on the swing, her eyes red and puffy from crying. I could see the world crumbling around her like dry leaves, each one a piece of her fragile heart. I had tried to be there for her, of course. But what do you say to a child whose world has shattered? I wanted to hold her, to tell her it would be okay, but the words stuck in my throat like a bitter lump. She pulled at the chains of the swing, her small hands trembling, her heart heavy with a love lost. All I could think of was how fierce the world could be. Just last week, she had beamed with joy, the laughter of friends echoing around us like music. Now, silence strangled the air. Those girls who mattered so much had turned on her, whispers covering their backs like a cloak of shadows. Our lives had been hectic. Work pulled me away endlessly, leaving me to juggle bills and responsibilities. I was struggling, trying to be both parent and provider. I blinked away my own tears, knowing I needed to be strong for her, but every glance at her fragile form ripped me apart a little more, and then, out of nowhere, there was Marta, the cleaning lady. She arrived as if summoned by fate itself. It was odd, really. I never paid much attention to her. Just a quiet woman in faded jeans and a bright scarf. Her hands moved with a purpose and grace, as if she held the secrets of the universe beneath her fingertips. That day, something in her demeanor changed. Marta paused, looked at Lily, and her expression softened. It was more than compassion, it was understanding. She stepped away from her routine, kneeling beside Lily, casting a warm shadow that wrapped around my daughter. I couldn't catch every word, but I saw the way Marta listened. The way she brushed Lily's hair back, her fingertips whispering comfort against a storm of sorrow. I held my breath, my heart thumping wildly. What could someone like Marta possibly know about heartbreak? A loose dog barked somewhere down the street, breaking the tension, but Marta remained. She shared stories, tales of lost love and missed chances, words spilling like a gentle rain on dry ground. Lily's eyes began to brighten, her laughter hesitatingly mixing with the wind. It was like magic. I watched this unexpected connection, disbelief blooming in my chest. Could Marta really be the one to pull Lily back from the edge? But just as quickly as hope flickered, doubt wrapped around it. And then, Marta leaned closer, her voice dropping to a near whisper. There are things hidden in plain sight, dear. What did she mean? My stomach twisted. Did she hold some secret that could change everything? The air grew thick with unease. I felt it, a shudder in my soul. Before I could think to intervene, the moment hung heavy, charged with potential and uncertainty. What if Marta had a key to healing? Or, what if she opened a door that should have remained shut? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The sun dipped lower, painting the sky with strokes of orange and pink, but the warmth felt far away from where I stood. It seemed as if the universe itself had turned a blind eye to the chaos unraveling in our lives. I watched as Marta continued to speak to Lily, her words flowing like a soothing balm. For a moment, hope sparked in my heart, a fragile flicker against the overwhelming darkness. As the sun began to set, casting long shadows across the yard, I noticed a glimmer in Lily's eyes that hadn't been there before. It was as if Marta had uncovered buried treasure within her, one made of resilience and a quiet strength that I'd feared was lost. But my heart remained a heavy stone in a river rushing toward uncertainty. Just as things seemed to breathe new life, the spell broke as Lily's gaze turned distant. She pulled her knees to her chest, retreating into a past that had begun to smother her. "What if they never want me back?" she mumbled, her voice barely a whisper, yet full of an ache that echoed through me. Marta's hand went to her shoulder, a gesture filled with silent strength. She knelt closer and spoke softly. "Sometimes those who matter the most don't know how to reach out. It takes courage to let them back in." I held my breath. Courage so straightforward, yet so terrifyingly complicated. Lily's tiny frame trembled at Marta's words, and I wished for nothing more than to shelter her from the tumult of friendships that felt like shifting sand. But life had no guarantees, and I felt powerless to shield her heart. I respected Marta. Her calm confidence seemed to resonate with my daughter, but what did she know about healing? Just then, a deep growl reverberated through the air, and I turned to see a huge dog trotting down the street towards us. It was a stray, unkempt with scraggly fur, its collar missing. My instincts kicked in, pushing me to shield Lily from harm, but before I could even move, the dog locked eyes with her. Lily's hand flew to her mouth as she staggered back, fear dancing in her every movement. I rushed to her side, but before I could say anything, Marta stood between them, arms raised in a gesture of peace. "It's okay. Just watch," she said, calmingly. The stray was drawn to the warmth of her presence, ears drooping in a mix of caution and curiosity. With tentative steps, Marta walked toward the dog, bending down slowly. "You're just looking for a bit of kindness, aren't you?" she ventured, her voice tender and filled with an understanding that seemed to resonate with the creature. The dog, sensing no threat, approached her, sniffing around her outstretched hand. Lily peered at the scene, the fear slowly fading from her features. I felt my heart squeeze slightly. Could this be the moment that shifted everything? A creature lost and a little girl, both searching for connection in a world that had turned harsh. For a flicker of time, the outside world melted away, and it seemed that Marta's kindness had bridged the gap. But then, just as swiftly as it had come, the moment unraveled. The dog suddenly recoiled, barking fiercely at a passerby's distant shout. It darted off, disappearing into the fading light, leaving behind a heavy silence that felt like an unresolved question. Lily's fragile smile crumbled, replaced by disappointment that settled into her small chest. "Why does no one want me?" She buried her face in my shirt, silent tears soaking through the fabric. My heart fractured at her words, guilt gnawing at the edges of my soul. I focused on Marta, silently begging her for a solution, a way to piece together my daughter's shattered spirit. But her expression mirrored my own helplessness wrapped in compassion. As I kneeled down beside them, I saw a different light under the surface of Marta's eyes. "Lily, sometimes we feel unwanted because we forget to see our worth. You are so much more than what they say," she whispered softly. In that moment, I glimpsed a past hidden behind her bright scarf, a struggle wrapped in memories as murky as the dusk falling around us. Who was Marta really? "Lily, let's take a walk. There's something I want to show you," I suggested, desperate to break the hold sadness had on us. But just as we began to step away, my phone buzzed in my pocket. I pulled it out, the screen lighting up with a message that stole my breath. "We need to talk. It's important." It was from Emma, one of the girls from Lily's past. Her words echoed in my mind, a tidal wave of emotions crashing against the fragile dam of hope Marta had begun to build. Could this be the path to healing or merely a deeper plunge into heartache? My heart raced with the weight of the choices ahead as I grasped Lily's hand tightly, the darkness closing around us like a shroud. What would happen when we reached that door? The night air was thick with uncertainty as we stepped away from the yard, the weight of the moment clinging to my skin like the humidity settling in. I held tightly to Lily's hand as we walked toward the nearby park, each step echoing through my mind as though it were a countdown to an inevitable confrontation. With every notification pinging from my phone, anxiety threaded through my veins, escalating with the idea that hope might just be out of reach. "I miss them," Lily finally murmured, her voice so small it seemed to dissolve into the darkness around us. Each word settled like a stone on my heart, heavy and unyielding. They never even tried to call. I inhaled sharply. My instinct was to assure her with words of comfort, but my voice faltered. How could I explain the complexity of friendships forged in youth, those that could crumble with no warning? With a sigh, I diverted my thoughts to the flicker of hope, Emma's text. I hesitated, torn between dread and desire, wondering whether I should reach out or let Lily take her time to navigate this tangled path. Just then, we passed by a small group of kids playing on the swing set, their laughter spilling out into the night like music from a distant celebration. They twirled and shouted, their joy so blatant that for a heartbeat it drew Lily's attention. I watched as she turned her searching eyes toward them, and a glimmer of longing illuminated her features. If only she could feel that joy, I thought. If only we could reclaim those days together, where laughter was simple, like breathing, but the moment was fleeting. A boy with dark curls running wildly jumped off the swing, landing awkwardly, and the other children erupted into a fit of laughter at him. The boy's face fell, the once vibrant spirit crushed under the weight of their teasing. Not long after, he walked away, his shoulders slumped, and the sound of their laughter turned hollow in the night. Why do they have to be like that? Lily asked, her brows knitting together in a swirl of innocence and wisdom beyond her years. I began, unsure of how to unravel the complexity of young hearts. Sometimes people laugh to hide their own hurt. Maybe they don't realize how much it can affect others. But it still hurts, she countered, her tone softer now, as if reflecting on her own experiences. Yes, it can. And that's why it's important to be kind, to look beyond what we see. Just like Marta showed us with the dog, I replied, grateful for the small lesson weaving its way into her tender heart, one that might ease our burdens as we moved closer toward uncertainty. As we neared the entrance of the park, my phone buzzed again. I checked the screen, and my hands trembled with the weight of another message from Emma. Please. I really want to make things right. The world around me faded. This girl, who had been so crucial in Lily's life, now stood like a lighthouse in the mist, yet there were shadows lurking in the depths of that connection. Mom? Can we stay a little longer? Lily's soft voice pulled me back, her gaze locked on the swings. I could sense a yearning there, a hope for belonging that I dearly wished to nurture. Okay, just a bit more, I replied, hoping we could find a moment that would fill the cracks she felt in her heart. We settled onto a bench under an old oak tree. The branches swayed gently in the evening breeze, the leaves whispering secrets I longed to uncover. Look, she pointed, eyes wide with excitement as a dog tethered to a nearby post looked almost like the stray we had encountered earlier. Can we go pet him? I nodded, and as we walked toward the dog, my heart raced again, but this time it was different. This wasn't the anxiety of uncertainty, it was the thrill of shared connection. The dog wiggled its tail, eyes sparkling with a mixture of hope and eagerness as it welcomed us. I knelt down beside Lily, who reached out slowly. Just as her fingers brushed against the soft fur, I heard another buzz from my phone, but I was entranced by the moment unfolding before me. The way Lily's face lit up, the bond forming in that instant, reminded me that even amidst sorrow, kindness could bloom like a wildflower through concrete. For a heartbeat, peace engulfed us, until another shout rang in the distance, breaking the fragile spell. The dog bolted away, tugged by an unseen force, leaving a yawning gap of disappointment beside us. Lily crouched, watching it go with glazed eyes that reflected the ache of loss all too well. Mom, can we take him home? She asked, but even as she spoke, I could see those brief sparks of happiness fading, reality pressing in around us like a cold vice. That we can't keep every friend we meet, but we can cherish the ones we have when they're near, I whispered, wrapping an arm around her shoulders. But as I held her close, my phone buzzed insistently again, demanding my attention. The urgency rumbling through me felt insurmountable, and yet, as I glanced at the screen, I knew this was a choice that would shift everything for us, for Lily, and for my heart. Lily, I paused, uncertain if this was the moment, but the speed of my heart beat in tandem with the fear that if we didn't confront Emma now, would we lose our chance for repair. Before I could say more, my phone slipped from my hand, and as I bent down to retrieve it, a gust of wind swept through the park, rustling the leaves and sending an unease through my soul. When I reached for my phone, I noticed something there. In the corner of the screen, a new notification had appeared. A photo. A group photo. Lily, beaming within a circle of familiar faces, one of whom was Emma, smiling brighter than I remembered. Suddenly, doubt and hope danced dangerously close as my heartbeat thundered in my ears. I had always thought we could move forward slowly, but seeing this photograph felt like a door flung wide open in the dark, a revelation that could either shatter the delicate strands we attempted to weave or fortify them, standing against whatever storm had come our way. Time seemed to stretch, wrapping us in its embrace, and as I met Lily's eager gaze, I felt the weight of a stunning revelation settle upon me. Emma had never truly let Lily go. In that moment, filled with mixed emotions both terrifying and thrilling, I knew we were standing at the edge of something monumental. But the question loomed large: was I prepared to step through that door when we had yet to gather the pieces of our shattered selves? The park was unusually quiet now, as if it held its breath in anticipation of what was to come. The photo on my phone, a frame within a frame of innocence and joy, pulsed with life so vibrant yet so distant from the heavy atmosphere that surrounded us. Lily's eyes sparkled with curiosity, fatigue momentarily forgotten, as she leaned closer to glimpse the image. "Is that Emma?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper, almost reverent. I nodded, caught between fear and hope. "She really does miss you, Lily," I said, my heart trembling with the weight of honesty. The question burning in the back of my mind remained unspoken. Would this revelation reignite wounds that were still raw, or would it stitch together parts we were struggling to heal? Lily peered at me, searching for something in my gaze, a lifeline or a shield. "Do you think she wants to come back?" The innocence of her question cut deeper than I anticipated, awakening old memories of laughter and betrayals, joys and sorrows. I rubbed her shoulder gently, glancing out toward the swings, which swayed idly in the breeze. "I think she wants to try. But the important part is, do you want to try?" Lily's small face fell into concentration, lips pursed. "It hurts that they didn't call," she said finally, each word laden with the weight of loss and longing. "But I miss her, too." I couldn't help but smile, despite the ache rising in my chest, and I found myself hoping for what, I wasn't quite sure. Would their reunion mend the rift, or open old wounds? Her eyes flickered toward the photo again. "Can we meet her?" The suddenness of her request hit me like a wave crashing against the shore, beckoning a flood of possibilities. "Tonight?" I asked, a hint of disbelief in my voice. "Yes. Now," she pleaded, her enthusiasm igniting a spark of courage in me. The urgency of the moment wrapped around us like a cloak, reanimating our spirits with its warmth. I hesitated only for a moment longer, glancing back at the message from Emma that still lingered unanswered in the shadows of my mind. "Let's go home first to see if she's still awake, okay?" Lily nodded eagerly, pulling me toward the park's exit, and I followed, my heart racing for the unknown. As we walked, the quiet of the park filled with the gentle sounds of our footfalls and the whispers of the wind, weaving a subtle tapestry of unspoken hopes and fears. Once we were home, I fumbled for my phone, unsure of how to breach the conversation with Emma. A dull ache settled into my chest at the thought of risking everything for a chance at reconciliation. As I pressed her name, my finger hovered over the send button before the familiar sound of approaching footsteps startled me. "Mom?" Lily's voice broke through the silence as she breezed past me, her eagerness palpable. "What if she's not ready? What if she doesn't want to see me?" I turned swiftly from the screen, unsure of what to say. "We won't know until we try," I offered, but even I could hear the tremor in my voice. Just then, my phone buzzed again, a new message from Emma lighting up the screen with an urgency that nearly took my breath away. "I need to talk. Can we meet?" Lily's eyes widened with anticipation as she watched me digest the message. "Yes. Tell her yes." She clutched my arm, and I was once again pulled toward the hope I both craved and feared. Taking a deep breath, I replied to Emma, "Yes." "Where and when?" And hit send, praying for the best while bracing for the worst. Lily shivered with excitement. "Can we go now?" "Just a moment," I said, feeling momentarily lost in a wave of uncertainty. What if Emma brought heartache along with her, not just for me, but for my precious Lily? What if they couldn't bridge the chasm that had grown between them? I pushed down my fears for the moment. If we can meet in the cafe on 6th, just a few blocks away, we can go right now. But we need to be prepared for anything. Lily's face blazed with determination. I'm ready, she assured me, though I could tell she was quaking beneath her brave exterior. The innocence of her expression caught my breath, transforming my own worries into a flicker of hope. As we set out, the streetlights flickered to life, casting an ethereal glow upon the road ahead. The path unfolded before us like an uncharted journey, filled with both the promise of joy and the shadow of uncertainty. Upon reaching the cafe, we paused outside the door, a moment of stillness enveloping us. The faint sounds of laughter and chatter spilled from within, and I felt a deep breath lodge in my throat. This was it. What if she doesn't like me anymore? Lily whispered, fear clawing at her voice. She loves you, Lily. No matter what happens, you are still in her heart, I reassured her, swallowing my own unease. Just remember what we talked about today. The world can be hard, but kindness is what matters. As we stepped through the door, my heart raced. Emma was seated at a small table, her eyebrows knitted together in contemplation. The moment she spotted us, her expression morphed into a whirlwind of surprise and apprehension. Lily, Emma breathed, standing to greet her as though unsure whether to embrace or retreat. But time stood still as I took in the gravity of what was unfolding. Before anything could be spoken, another figure emerged from the shadows at the entrance of the cafe, an unfamiliar face with a hesitant smile that sent chills racing down my spine. Hey, I was just passing by. I thought you guys might be here, the stranger said, eyes darting between us, knowingly, as if the air was charged with unspoken revelations. In that split second, everything shifted. Uncertainty turned to suspicion, and I felt the very ground beneath us tremble with unasked questions. Who was this person, and what role did they play in this intricate web of our lives? Lily clutched my hand tightly, sensing the shift as the familiar warmth of hope spiraled into a blizzard of doubt and worry. And at that moment, I understood, we were stepping into a world that would challenge everything we thought we knew, a collision of futures intertwined that would demand courage from all of us. But I couldn't turn away now, the stakes were too high, and the unknown pulled me in like a moth to a flame. As the tension thickened in the air, I knew we had just crossed a threshold from which there might be no return. Inside the cafe, the ambience shifted rapidly as the unfamiliar face continued to linger, their presence an unsettling surprise that felt electric with tension. The pretty blonde with lively eyes and a bubbly demeanor, wrapped in a spring jacket that seemed far too cheerful for the moment, took a step closer. She cocked her head slightly, surveying us like a curious traveler encountering an unexpected destination. Hi. Sorry to intrude, she said, forcing a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. I'm Jenna. I work at the bookstore around the corner. I saw you two heading in and thought I'd drop by. I hope that's okay. Emma's gaze shifted from me to Lily and back, her expression a fragile blend of relief and apprehension. The barista called out orders, laughter erupted from a nearby table, but all I could hear was the persistently nagging question ringing in my head, who was this girl, and what did she want? Hello, Jenna, I managed, feeling the pulse of the moment constrict around my chest. We were just meeting someone. I gestured vaguely toward Emma, and for a fleeting moment, I thought I saw understanding pass between the two women, as if they shared some hidden context I wasn't privy to. Right, Jenna said, the brightness of her smile faltering slightly. I'll just wait outside then. I didn't mean to interrupt your reunion, she added, her eyes flitting toward Lily, and I wondered if she could see the uncertainty dancing behind her youthful visage. Don't go. Lily exclaimed suddenly, her voice gaining strength as she squeezed my hand a little tighter. Please stay. The plea was innocent, pure, yet it rattled me. Lily, maybe we should. I want to hear what Emma has to say. Lily cut me off, her eyes pleading, unmistakably hoping Jenna could somehow color this dark moment with unexpected brightness. I could see the spark of courage igniting within her, and it twisted the knife of my own fear even deeper. "Okay," Emma finally spoke, her voice softer but infused with a hint of forgotten strength. "Jenna can stay. I want you to feel comfortable, Lily," she said, glancing back at her with warmth and understanding. Jenna nodded enthusiastically, stepping closer again with a mix of admiration and innocence, as if truly wanting to bridge the gap between them. "I hope it's okay, but I've seen you before, Lily," she said gently. "I think you're really amazing." Lily's cheeks flushed with delight as she absorbed the compliment, her hesitation momentarily forgotten. "Thank you. Do you like to read?" she asked, her wonderment overtaking her uneasiness. "Absolutely. Especially fantasy books," Jenna continued, her enthusiasm buoying the atmosphere like a cool breeze on a hot day. "There's magic in books, just like in life." "You like magic, right?" "Yeah," Lily exclaimed, forgetting her past worries for a fleeting moment. And in that exchange, however brief, a thread of connection began to weave through the air between them. Each laugh shared sent an echo of laughter into the darkest corners of my heart. But still, the reality hung over us like storm clouds. Once Lily's initial excitement wore off, the true conversations loomed ahead, heavy and laden with pain. Emma cleared her throat, drawing our attention as the air turned thick again with unaddressed tension. "Lily, I've missed you every day and am sorry for not reaching out sooner." Life got complicated after she paused, struggling to find the right words, and I felt a wave of empathy wash over me. "I can't explain everything right now, but I want to try to rebuild what we had, I really do." "Why did you leave?" Lily's question sliced through the noise, her voice steady with the bravery only a child could muster. "You could have called." Silence enveloped the table, the gravity of that inquiry echoed sharply. Jenna's part in this quickly faded, her enthusiasm dimming as the weight of reality settled back into the room. "That I didn't know how," Emma finally admitted, her eyes shimmering with an unspilled ocean of regret. "I thought it would hurt less if I stayed away, but it only made things worse." Lily's expression fell, shadows creeping across her youthful face. The light behind her eyes dimmed as uncertainty reared its head once more. "But you don't want me now, no?" Emma almost shouted, her voice quivering. "That's not it at all. I love you, Lily, and it's so important for you to know that. I didn't know how to face everything." Before Lily could respond, Jenna quietly shuffled her feet, her thoughtful gaze carefully observing the turmoil unfolding. "I think emotions are complicated, right?" she interjected softly, trying to gently coax a bridge of understanding amidst the growing rift. "It's really brave of you, Emma. Showing up like this." The sincerity in Jenna's voice added layers to the conversation, yet it felt like burying a wound deeper into the fissures surrounding us. I wondered if perhaps she was a harbinger of hope, or if she'd become another thread in this inexplicable web of complexity we were navigating. "I wish we could just skip all of this adult misunderstandings part," Lily finally said, her childlike innocence emerging as veils of anguish weighed down her small shoulders. Her voice cracked slightly as she tucked her chin into her chest. "Can't we just go back to how things were?" "There's a chance for that, sweetheart," Emma replied, her eyes softening. "But it might take time. And work." Jenna, who had been an unexpected yet welcoming breath of fresh air, appeared ready to shift back out of the spotlight. "Can I help out in some way?" she asked. The sincerity in her voice felt like a gentle hand on a wounded heart. "I have a lot of books that might help make sense of all these big feelings." The suggestion struck me as strangely fitting. A shared space filled with stories might offer comfort, a conduit through which healing could flow without the enormity of adult expectations pressing down hard on the young souls in the room. But before anyone could respond, the door to the cafe swung open again, and an unmistakable figure stepped inside. A figure from the past that was both haunting and bittersweet. My breath caught in my throat as I turned to face the new arrival, a jolt of recognition shooting through me as chills raced down my spine. The last thing I expected was to see Derek, a specter of a life I thought I had buried deep. His eyes scanned the room, locking briefly onto mine before lingering on the faces at our table. The air curdled with tension around us, a palpable silence echoed our shocked acknowledgement. What was he doing here? My heart raced with dread. The presence that had been a lingering shadow in our lives had now physically stepped into our fragile moment of recovery. The ground beneath me felt unsteady, and I immediately suspected that this was the moment when everything could unravel completely. As confusion twisted the atmosphere and Lily's face morphed from curiosity to uncertainty, I instinctively reached for her despite my own quaking heart. And in that moment, I realized, we were standing on the precipice of something monumental. The air crackled with possibility and danger, the fragile threads we'd begun to weave now hanging by a thread, an assemblage of voices, choices, and truths that could either mend us or tear us apart forever. The tension in the cafe became an electric current, sparking jagged feelings between us as Derek stood there, etched in uncertainty, searching for recognition in our expressions. My grip tightened on Lily's hand, the warmth of her little fingers grounding me, though my heart raced wildly against the impending storm. "Derek," I managed to utter, trying to process the absurdity of his presence. Anger and fear coiled tightly in my chest. This was not how we envisioned the day unfolding. The fragile connection building between Emma and Lily was teetering on the edge of collapse, and Derek's appearance felt like a deliberate act of sabotage. Jenna, blissfully unaware of the deeper currents at play, offered a tentative smile. "Do you know him?" she asked, her curiosity seemingly genuine, but I barely registered her as my focus narrowed solely on Derek, the ghost of our shared history resurfacing with unnerving clarity. I started, but the words kept choking in my throat. Memories flooded back, laughter shared, dreams once held, and dark, gut-wrenching betrayals. Derek stepped forward, his demeanor unreadable as he shifted priority from me to Lily, whose innocent visage now turned cautious. "Hey, kiddo," he said, attempting to adopt a casual demeanor that failed to mask the seriousness of the moment. "Long time no see." Lily looked utterly bewildered. "Why are you here?" Her tone, tinged with that childlike honesty, sent ripples of discomfort through my gut. Derek's shoulders slumped slightly, the bravado replaced by something more vulnerable. I heard through the grapevine that you could use a friend. Just wanted to check in." "Check in?" Emma echoed, her voice rising in indignation. "You left us without a word, and now you think a casual visit suffices? After everything?" The facade of composure she'd fought so hard to maintain wavered, replaced by the raw hurt that had animated her all along. "You don't understand," Derek replied, frustration seeping into his tone. "I thought I was doing the right thing. I thought I could protect you all, protect us." I shot back, incredulity lacing my words. "By disappearing? That's your idea of protection?" My blood boiled at the boldness of his claim. He had no right to act like a concerned parent now. Lily remained silent, perceptive young eyes darting between the adults as a flicker of confusion played on her face. I willed her not to take this moment upon her small shoulders. Emma exhaled sharply. "Derek, this isn't just about you anymore. You've put Lily through so much. You need to understand how your choices shaped her world." "That I know I messed up, but I want to do better now," he said, his voice losing its assertiveness. "I want to be part of her life again." Tension coiled tighter around us, choking the air. I seized the moment, knowing it was crucial for Lily to feel protected amidst the chaos. "You don't get to decide that, Derek," I said firmly, my gaze never wavering. "It's not your choice to come back and wrap things up all neatly like they were before. You broke us." Jenna ventured cautiously into the fray, sensing the heat rising and hoping to cool the flames. "Maybe we could all just talk," she suggested, her voice soft, almost pleading. "Just share how we feel, without judgment." The cafe felt crowded with emotions, each breath laden with complexity. I could see Lily fidgeting, sensing the rising tide of tension threatening to overwhelm her. "I don't want to talk about this right now," she exclaimed suddenly, her voice breaking, bringing everything to a standstill. "I just want it to be okay." Those words hung heavily in the air. It was an innocent plea underscored by aching vulnerability. A fissure of hope broke through the mire, yet it felt distant and fine, fragile like the gossamer thread spun by a spider hungrily threatened by a gust of wind. That I want that too, sweet pea, Emma replied, her voice trembling as she knelt down, searching for Lily's gaze. But sometimes, we have to face hard truths to find that okay. Lily's eyes glistened as she blinked back tears. Do we have to? Can't we just have fun and read books? A part of me wanted to shield her from the harsh reality unraveling before us, another part knew the truth was unavoidable. That's what we want, I murmured, directing my voice to both her and Emma. We want to create a safe space for all of us, one where we feel comfortable. Just then, Jenna shifted slightly, her earlier enthusiasm dimmed but not extinguished. All of you should know that healing takes time, she said, her voice nurturing, holding a hint of wisdom. Maybe I can set up a reading hour at the bookstore where we can talk and explore feelings through stories? It can help. Hope glimmered in the air momentarily, flickering like an ember. Then the moment shattered as Derek stepped forth uncertainly, speaking into the silence with an earnestness that made me wary. I'd like that, he said, directing his gaze at Lily. Maybe I can help us all like that. Just, one day at a time. I felt my heart constrict. Could he offer anything of value here, or was this just another attempt to wiggle back into her life under the guise of sincerity? The atmosphere around us hung heavy, and I couldn't shake the fear that it was all about to devolve into chaos once again. Then the cafe bell chimed softly as the door swung open from behind Derek. A woman entered shrouded in a shadow of familiarity that tugged at the edges of my memory. It took me a moment to process the recognition. Sarah? I gasped, the name escaping my lips before I could comprehend the implications. Derek's face paled, eyes wide with surprise as he turned. Emma's expression mirrored my disbelief. Lily, lost in the undercurrents of the situation, was left asking for a sense of normalcy while the past rushed back to confront us all anew. In that moment, everything shifted again. What had begun as a glimmer of hope felt like it was unraveling into uncharted territory once more. As I stood there, suspended on the precipice of emotion and revelation, I couldn't help but wonder if we could truly rewrite our stories or if they were destined to intertwine in confusion forever. The air in the cafe turned electric again, the conversation abruptly halted as Sarah stood frozen in place at the entrance. Her presence sent tremors through my body, unraveling the moments we had just shared. It was as if time had folded in on itself, laying bare hidden corners of our tangled past that we couldn't afford to revisit. Derek's reaction was visceral. The color drained from his face, and for a heartbeat, he looked like he had seen a ghost. What are you doing here? His voice was low, tremulous, as if he had just touched a live wire. The question hung in the air, steeped in layers of suspicion and hurt. My heart began to race as I tried to gauge the emotions playing out across Sarah's expression. With wild hair escaping from her bun and a somewhat disheveled outfit, she looked different, yet the familiar spark in her eyes remained. I couldn't discern if that spark would ignite warmth or rage. Sarah, I breathed, clenching Lily's hand tighter, my eyes darting between her and Derek. I could sense the discomfort building, tension like tightly coiled springs waiting to snap into chaos. You know Derek, more than I'd like to, she replied, her voice steady yet charged with an undertone of bitterness. And the last time I checked, he had a habit of ghosting. So what's he doing back now? Lily shifted beside me, her small fingers trembling against mine. The unexpected confrontation spun around her, and I saw her eyes widening in confusion. This was too much for her to absorb. Mom? She whispered, fear creeping into her voice. It's okay, sweet pea, I murmured, hoping to shield her from the emotional storms brewing yet again. But with every moment, that hope felt more fragile. Derek cleared his throat, desperation tainting his composure. This isn't what it looks like, Sarah. I came to apologize, to try and be a better father. You know me. Is that what you think this is about? Sarah shot back, her gaze unwavering, eyes blazing with untamed fire. You think poking your head back into my life gives you the right to play happy family? It doesn't work that way. Jenna, witnessing the escalating tension, stepped forward. Maybe this isn't the best place for what feels like a family reunion. Can we all take a step back? It felt as if the cafe walls were closing in, the uncertain air wrapping around us like a thick curtain. It was more than just a family reunion, it was a battlefield dressed in familiar smiles and buried memories. Lily's small form trembled beside me, and I could feel her fear as my own heart raced. "Lily, why don't you go with Jenna for a moment?" I urged, wishing I could protect her from this reality that was unfolding, a reality I once believed Alejandro was silently part of. "Can I?" Lily asked hesitantly, her eyes darting from me to Derek, and the raw emotions roiling in the air. "Yeah, I'll walk you to the reading corner. It'll be fun." Jenna replied warmly, grasping Lily's hand gently. I watched as they moved away, Jenna casting cautious glances over her shoulder, bridging the gap between childhood innocence and the emotional chasm that had been created. As Lily's small frame disappeared around a corner, I turned my full attention back to Derek and Sarah. "Why now, Derek?" Sarah asked, her voice cutting through the tension like a knife. "Why return after everything? After all those years?" Derek's face flushed, color returning to his cheeks as he struggled with his answer. I thought I could fix things. I thought I could be a better man. For Lily's sake." As he spoke those words, I caught a glimpse of sincerity that felt almost genuine almost. But in the echo of his voice, I also sensed the cracks in his facade, the desperation bleeding through. A shimmer of weightlessness touched my heart, battling the heaviness that seemed to envelop us all. Sarah spoke again, her voice barely a whisper. "But you didn't care when you left us to weather storms alone, did you?" Derek looked like he had been struck. "I thought I was protecting you, protecting everyone. I was scared." "Scared?" Sarah shook her head sharply, eyes blazing. "You were just scared of the fallout you created." "Derek. That's not the same thing." That I felt trapped in a whirlwind of emotions as their past collided with our present. Every betrayal and fleeting moment of hope mingled together until all I could hear was the thrumming of my heart in my ears. It was rapid, frantic. As I looked at Derek, an overwhelming urge surged within me to confront him, to demand he take responsibility for the past he was trying so half-heartedly to reclaim, but in the depths of my heart, I grappled with my own fears of seeing how I might be affected, how Lily might be affected. Just as I opened my mouth to speak, the bell over the door chimed again. In walked a young girl, around Lily's age, dressed in a vibrant yellow dress with a matching sun hat. She approached our table, her innocent smile cutting through the tension like a beacon. "Excuse me," she said cheerfully. "Is this a good place for a story?" The abruptness of her question stunned us into silence. For a second, the weight of our emotional discourse hung impossibly light. My heart ached at the juxtaposition of her innocence against the chaos swirling around us. Yes. Yes, it is," I managed, feeling the warmth of her enthusiasm break through the gloom. Derek and Sarah exchanged glances, bewildered by the interruption. As I looked into the young girl's sunny expression, I felt a flicker of hope. Maybe a simple story could weave strands of connection, a way for us to shield ourselves, if only for a moment, from the difficult truths pressing in around us. But as the girl settled beside me, I caught sight of Derek's face, etched with uncertainty. What had been buried was surfacing once more, our paths forever intertwined, whether we realized it or not. Little did I know that this moment would reveal not just Derek's willingness to shape the future, but hold the key to unraveling secrets long hidden away. The girl began to tell a story about a brave little dragon who wanted nothing more than to find her place among the great fire-breathing beasts of her kind. We watched her animated expressions, her hands dancing in the air as she brought the tale to life, casting a fragile, shimmering net over the tension that had been nearly suffocating just moments before. Derek shifted uncomfortably, his eyes flickering between the girl and Sarah. "You were always the one who lived in stories," he said to her. "This need to escape, to find your own fairy tale." Sarah's gaze hardened as she drew herself up, visibly irritated by Derek's attempt to personalize the girl's arrival. It's not about escaping, she shot back, her voice low but steady. It's about finding beauty in the reality we live. You wouldn't understand that. I remained silent, torn between the innocence of the story and the weight of our reality. I glanced at the girl, her smile radiating warmth that seemed to temporarily lift the shadows clinging to our hearts. As she approached the climax of her tale and spoke of the dragon's bravery facing challenges that seemed insurmountable, I found solace in the idea that momentary miracles still existed, even within chaos, yet I felt goosebumps rising on my skin as Sarah looked away, her tender expression fading into a hardened mask. She leaned closer to Derek, her eyes boring into him. You can't just waltz back into our lives and expect everything to be okay just because you're wearing a mask of remorse. Being a father isn't just a title, it requires work, and you left us to fend for ourselves. Derek flinched at her words, and the girl paused, perhaps sensing the shift in the energy around us. But instead of retreating, she reached out, pulling Derek's gaze back to her with an innocent question. Do you have a dragon, too? Before he could respond, Sarah interjected, her eyes widening. What does that even mean? It means we all have something we're afraid of, the girl said, her honesty ringing clear. It's okay to be scared. It's not okay to hide. In that moment, a flicker of vulnerability passed across Derek's face. It was as if the child had peeled back the layers of bravado he had been draping around himself, revealing the scared man underneath. I had a dragon, he finally said, voice trembling. I thought if I left, the fire wouldn't hurt anyone. I thought I was doing the right thing, but it hurt, Sarah countered, her voice wavering just slightly. You hurt us, the girl resumed her story, oblivious to the grown-up battles swirling around her. As she painted the vivid image of the dragon finding her way back to her family, I couldn't help but feel the pangs of realization deepen within me. The dragon's journey mirrored the complexities of ours, weaving a tapestry of regret and longing, but also hope. Lily's absence weighed heavily on my heart. I wished for her to witness this unexpected exchange, to see that even amidst heartache, moments of bravery emerged, desperately yearning to be acknowledged. But just as I opened my mouth, prepared to suggest we seize the moment to talk one more try at bridging our broken pieces, the door chimed again. A woman walked in with bold strides, her presence instantly shifting the atmosphere, like a storm that had quietly approached. Tension surged through me as I realized this was not someone I recognized, but the quick, anxious flicker in Derek's eyes told me she meant something to him. Derek, she called out, her voice sharp, demanding his attention. I've been looking for you. The vibration in the air thickened, and the little girl's tale faltered as everyone turned toward this newcomer. Derek's face blanched, and in that moment, I understood the gravity of our circumstances. There was no escaping this truth. The past demanded reckoning, and it had just stepped through the door. Sarah's face turned pale as she looked back at the woman, the unspoken pain cutting deeper than any words exchanged. I felt my heart plunge into a chasm of uncertainty, and dread churned in my stomach. Was this the reason Derek had come back? Could she be the key to unraveling the hidden fragments of our lives even further? I glanced back at the young girl, lost in her narrative but now interrupted by the uneasy air between all of us. Moments of hope flickered and dimmed, leaving me hanging tight to the threads of what we once had, even as new truths loomed overhead, threatening to suffocate us all. In that charged silence, I grappled with the dawning realization: none of us were prepared for the revelations that awaited. And as the woman stepped closer, her gaze locked onto Derek with a fierce intensity, it was clear that we were about to enter an emotional storm none of us had seen coming. The woman's presence clung to the room like fog, thickening the air around us. Time seemed to stretch as we stood bathed in the tension, each heartbeat a loud drum in the deafening silence. Derek's face seemed to oscillate between regret and fear, signaling a storm brewing deep inside him. My heart raced, and the friendly glow in the girl's smile flickered uncertainly. Who is she? Sarah finally asked, her voice steady but layered with a quiver that hinted at her unease. She had always been the courageous one, yet even the most dove-like heart can falter in the face of unexpected danger. Derek's gaze fell to the floor, burdened by unasked questions. This is Emily, he admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. Emily stepped forward, seemingly unbothered by the heavy atmosphere, her confidence radiating like a lighthouse in a storm. "Derek and I have some things to discuss," she said matter-of-factly, her eyes skimming the group before resting on him again, unwavering. A mixture of surprise and worry surged through me, squeezing my chest. Sarah's jaw tightened, and I could see the muscle in her cheek twitch. I wanted to rush in to shield her from whatever truth Emily was about to unleash. But I was frozen, caught in a web woven from memories and fears that felt increasingly insurmountable. The girl, momentarily distracted by the shift, took a tentative step toward Emily. "Do you know about dragons?" she asked, her wide eyes brimming with the naive curiosity that had sparked joy mere moments before. In that brief instant, I felt a warmth spreading through the cold, awkward air, reminding me that childlike wonder could exist, even here. Emily knelt to meet the girl's gaze. "I know something about dragons," she replied, something softer resonating in her voice. "They sometimes get lost. But they always find their way home, home." The word clung to my heart. Derek had left us, and yet here he stood, tangled amid new dragons. His eyes shimmered with conflict, and I could only wonder how many fires had scorched him since that day he walked out of our lives. "Derek, we don't have time for this." Sarah's voice was sharper now, slicing through the tenuous resolve in the room. "You owe us an explanation. You owe our daughter one." "Yes," he said, weariness threading through his tone, "but I'm not the only one with secrets here." I felt a chill settle in. A glassy bead of trepidation had begun to form as Derek's words hung uncomfortably around us. Everyone felt it, the shift, a collective push toward an unseen precipice. What secrets lurked in his silence? I cast a glance around the room, taking in the girl, whose innocent heart was hanging on every word, and Sarah, whose anger condensed beneath her skin. Would there be a breaking point? What monster called us all forward into this moment? Emily rose, standing tall among the unsteadiness. "We need to have this conversation, Derek. There's a lot you're missing and a lot she deserves to know." "Wait," I interjected. "What do you mean? What's going on?" But just as I spoke, the girl interrupted again, an endearing reminder of innocence in the tempest. "Are you a dragon too?" Emily's face softened, and she chuckled lightly, shaking her head. "No, sweetie, I'm just here to help." Her gaze bounced to Derek, then to us all, as if seeking permission to continue. "But sometimes, every dragon needs a guide." The silence stretched again, laden with unspoken fears and burgeoning possibilities. I could practically hear the wheels turning in Derek's mind, the frantic gears slipping out of place as he tried to navigate the imminent wreckage of honesty. Sarah, emboldened, stepped forward. "If you're here to help, what do you know about Lily?" The very name sank like stone into the depths of my heart. The girl's story of bravery and belonging echoed in my mind, a cover for the deeper pain of Lily's absence. I ached to hear something, a sign that hope existed beyond the barriers of sorrow we'd been body-checked against for so long, but just as I glanced at Derek, who was caught between the tide of emotions lapping at his feet, my phone buzzed violently in my pocket, tearing my attention from the moment. I hastily pulled it out, a cold thread of apprehension weaving through me. It was a message from a number I didn't recognize. My heart raced as I opened it, deciphering the letters that crashed against my heart like a wave. "I know where Lily is." I was thrown into chaos, my fingers trembling as I read and reread the words. The world around me blurred, the room morphing into shadows as I collected my breath and grasped the edges of a revelation I had never planned for, a truth that could shatter everything. Derek's past loomed like dark clouds, but it was nothing compared to the storm that swirled over our heads now. I glanced back at the girl, who seemed oblivious, her innocence preserved, while my heart thudded heavily in my chest. Could this be the key to lifting the shroud we had lain over our lives? Or would this plunge us deeper into the abyss? Standing in the midst of this emotional whirlwind, my heart hammered against my ribs as I grappled with the weight of the message glowing on my screen. "I know where Lily is." The words were a lifeline and a curse, twisting in my gut and turning the air around us thick with tension. I glanced up, knowing I had to confront whatever was brewing in this situation, but the chaos swirling around me, Derek, Sarah, Emily, and the little girl whose story of bravery felt like a fragile tether amidst the tumult made it difficult to breathe. Memories flooded my mind, Lily's laughter, her tears, the shadows lurking at the edge of her happiness. My soul ached to protect her, and yet, here we were, boundaries breached by our pasts, about to be swept away by truths we couldn't escape. Who sent you that? Sarah's voice cut through my thoughts, demanding answers. She had turned her attention to me, eyes intensified with protective fury, and for a moment, I struggled to find my voice. A message, I stammered, holding my phone as if it were a precious artifact. I don't know who it is, but Derek's expression shifted from uncertainty to urgency. If they know where she is, we need to act. Now. There was desperation etched in the lines of his face, the mask of indifference slipping as the father in him began to emerge, desperate to find his daughter, but even in the face of his sincerity, something stirred in my gut: contempt and clarity. I looked from him to Sarah, whose hurt was evident in the way she stood, poised between anger and heartbreak. Derek, you were absent. You have no idea what you've disrupted by coming here. Lily is battling her own demons, and you think it's just going to take one message to fix everything? Enough. Derek's voice boomed through the cafe, silencing the soft murmurs and laughter that had previously echoed around us. He seemed to realize the attention we were drawing, and daylight seeped through the gloom as the little girl who had been engrossed in her storytelling, shifted beside me. I just want to find my daughter. The weight of those words sat heavily in the air. I felt Sarah stiffen, her facade cracking against the raw significance of Derek's statement. In this moment, could he really be pulling back for the right reasons? My heart pounded as I wrestled with the impulse to forgive and to shield. Before I could respond, the little girl spoke again, her innocent voice cutting through the tension. Dragons can be lost, but they can also be found again. Right? She directed her gaze toward Derek, her expression bright with belief. I clasped my hands together, willing the chaos to cease, and looked back at Derek. There was something powerful in this moment, a reminder that even the most fractured relationships could find a way back, if only they could brave the storms together. If we're going to do this, we must do it right. We have to be there for her. As silence enveloped us again, I gently reached for the little girl's hand to ground myself. I glanced at Emily, whose expression had softened, conveying empathy that encircled our broken family. If you can help us, Derek, speak up. Be honest, I urged. For Lily's sake, we need to carve out a future right now, not dance around ghosts of our past. The flicker of vulnerability resurfaced in his eyes as he nodded, the flicker of fear replaced by determination. You're right. Let's figure this out together. I took a steadying breath, my heart alight with determined courage. Here's how we do this: we follow the lead from the message, but we break down our walls. We own our pasts because it's tied to our present. We can't undo what has happened, but we can choose to be the heroes our children need us to be. With newfound resolve, I turned to Sarah, whose eyes held a mixture of admiration and hesitation. Will you do this with us, Sarah? For her, in that moment, she nodded, her vulnerability surfacing as she took a step closer to me. Yes. For Lily, Derek glanced at Emily, and without saying a word, the bonds around us began to shift, connections forming through every unspoken truth. It was not forgiveness, but acceptance, a gentle reckoning that business would be left untangled, but the heart of love could endure. Just then, my phone buzzed again, this time with a name that sent a jolt through my body. Emma. No one sends a message like that unless they want to intervene, I stated, the possibility fluttering within me like a moth drawn to distant light. Whatever friction existed amongst us could forge a path to resolution. And what if she knows something? What if she is key in this? Derek's gaze sharpened as he took the hint. Then we bring her in. We need each other to map out where Lily is and how to get her back. With a chorus of agreement, we found ourselves united in that cafe, an unlikely alliance forged through shared pain and unrelenting love. The memories that could have shattered us now bridged this tender moment, as we steeled ourselves for whatever lay ahead with Lily at the heart of our journey. As we stood there facing our fears, I remembered the little girl, eyes wide and cheerful, still waiting patiently nearby. "Do you think dragons can really get lost sometimes?" she asked again, hopeful and innocent. "Sometimes they do," I replied, feeling the emotional grip loosen me, heart swelling with hope as I met each pair of eyes around me. "But they also find their way back home, with wisdom weaving through our flaws." We locked hands together, ready to face our dragons. No matter what lay ahead, each heartbeat brought us closer to the girl that sparked our fight, and in that moment, I understood fully both love and hurt were intertwined. It was time to reclaim that light. And as I whispered those words softly into the air, I felt the warmth of hope surge through me, knowing that no matter how tangled the past might be, we would rise as warriors, restoring kindness into our world, not just for Lily, but for every lost fire-breathing heart waiting to be found again. Because in the end, that's what families truly are, shattered pieces that willingly transform into light, illuminating the dark paths that lay ahead. Each step we took together marked the beginning of a raw and honest journey, a journey towards acceptance, healing, and unconditional love.